3, 2, and 1. We are live. We are live. We are live. Hello, guys. So today, really excited to do study to tell you guys about this new thingy, this new technology that we are learning called ReactJS. ReactJS probably the most needed skill set for web developers, right, guys? And today we will continue doing the parent slash child component. Okay, let's go.
Not ideal to be taking our entire markup and stuffing it into one component like we're doing here. So let's learn through practice the concept of creating a parent and child component. We're going to start this off by having you do a mini challenge. So let me type out that challenge here. Okay, your little mini challenge is to take the header element from our page and to put it into its own component that's called header. Technically speaking, I'm not necessarily asking you to then render the header inside the page, but if you want a little extra credit challenge, you can render that header component that you just made inside of the page here. Pause now and work on this mini challenge.
Move the header element from page. Move the header element. Right, let me turn off the music for a bit. And now we are going to do this. So how are we going to do this? Move the header element from page into its own component called headers. Move the header element from page into its own component called headers. Oh, easy. All right. Oi. Wrong click the wrong buttons, right, guys? We do boom function call this headers. Guys, I don't feel like a lot of things that I learned after the JavaScript, like module 3 is like that's how do I call it, like what do they call a okay, so page
Inside of page, looking for a sound here, I can create an instance of my header component by just typing it out like this. As if
oh, you can return the header like that as well. Interesting. Headers slash here. This could work as well. Adjacent JS, oh, what does it say? Adjacent must be wrapped in the closing tag. Did you want JS fragment? What? Let me put this up here, and then what do we call here? Can I call this? This? No, it doesn't work like that. It returns. Doesn't work like that.
if it were an HTML element amongst my other code. And here we see the concept of composability in practice. I've set aside some of my UI to be...
Wait, yeah. Cannot be having two parents. Forgot that. So it need to be an indent and inside the div tag. That's why it's not working. I see. Right.
Managed by a single header component. And then anytime I want to essentially insert these elements into my page, I can create an instance of my header component just like this. Now, in a web page that's this small, it's really not that necessary to do this, but I'm sure you can imagine if this were a much larger application, especially one that had pieces that had a lot of user interaction and so forth, it becomes really beneficial to move these things into their own separate components. Okay, so that leads us to the next part of this challenge, which I will type out now. Essentially, I want you to do the same thing, but now with the footer as its own component and the rest of the content as its own component. Pause now and work on this challenge. Okay, just like before.
Wait. Give me a moment. Move the footers into its own components, right? Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Wow, it's actually not too shabby. It's okay. Footers. I have so many works to do. Especially with there's like you have to write your, what is it called, function. You have to call your function the right way with this format in order for it to activate inside your, what is this called, like a ReactJS, a React function. You have to do it like this or it's not going to work. If you do space here, it's not going to work. Let me try, but it works. It works. What about this? It works as well. Wow. But if you don't close the tag, what if you don't close the tag? Now it is a syntax errors. That's not good. Right, interesting.
We'll create a new footer function or component here, and it's going to return footer to sibling elements, which again we can't just render. Of course, now that I've rendered an instance of, very technically speaking, these elements are now children of the div, and the div exists right here. You can understand another component could have main content rendering another component that we have also made.
Clean.
And then relative to main content, that other component would be a child component, and main content would be the parent component. This really is no different than in our HTML, how you can have different levels of parent, child, and even grandchild or whatever.
Like it.
Nice work on this challenge. You can see that we are now composing our page together of other components. Now, we're pretty overdue in learning the ability to add some styling to our page. So that's what we're going to work on next.
Standing stream, guys. Standing stream. Styling with class. Hello, Rat. Hello, Rat.
We're going to start off this lesson with a sort of mini challenge. Our goal is to add a navigation bar to our little site here. And navigation items like this are usually handled with something like an unordered.
Wait, that is a rat name. Get it? Rat name.
List with list items. So that's your challenge. Underneath our image here, your challenge is to add an unordered list with 3 list items for pricing, about, and contact. In In the end, this will essentially be like adding some HTML to your page. So this should be pretty quick. Pause the screencast and work on this challenge.
Okay, so let's go. Add an UL inside the headers. Create the following li: pricing, about, and contact. UL inside headers. All right. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. UL. And then we do this /UL. I hate that React doesn't like autocomplete your code, or maybe because there's no extension on this Scrimba site. That's why it's not auto-completing my code. Usually when I click LI, it's just, and I click OK, it's just auto-complete my whole line of code. Pricing, about, and contact. About and contact, baby. Right. Run this. We are good. Woo!
Or on this now, equals, and just like when we were creating things in vanilla JavaScript,
class
we
name
would say something like const unordered list equals document dot create element with unordered list as the type, and then we would say ul dot class name equals something if we wanted to set the class.
Well, this is like the lower tier way to do it. You have to declare. You have to write 2 lines of code just to declare one. Just to declare that your UL is going to be a class name, something else. You can do it in their function, which is way faster, way better. There's a lower chance of you making a mistake. So stick with the basic, the shorter way. If you understand it, stick with the lower, the shorter way of doing things. So you're not going to make a lot of mistakes during the way, right? But this works as well. It really depends on whether if you understand a thing or not, or you need to break it down into smaller steps.
Class name. So in the end, that's why we're using class name instead of class in React. And so I will set the class name here to nav-items. Hit save, and then in our style.css, I can add nav items. And maybe first let's take the list style off. So we'll say list style of none, and sure enough, our bullets go away. And that brings us to the next part of this challenge. Using Flexbox, I want you to line up the nav items horizontally so that they sit next to each other like this.
Flexbox.
And then also using Flexbox, I want you to line up the unordered list with your newly horizontal list items to be in line with our logo so that everything is nice and aligned just like we have in this image.
Okay.
In doing so, I want you only to use CSS classes. I don't want you to select any bare elements like the whole nav or anything like that. Mostly just so we can get some practice typing out class name. Pause the screencast and work on this part of the challenge.
Using Flexbox lineup deal. Okay. Easy peasy. Not that hard. Let's go here. Should we do here? Going to be nav items. He already had it here. So you should flex the nav right here. Not any of this. Well, you're going to flex the UL as well, but first, for now, we're going to nav the flex the nav, so it can line out, so it can display like horizontally instead of like this, like row, like vertically. Alright, so we do that. Oh, he wants us to do this. Right, so you UL is doesn't want us to Oh, I just want the nav items. But this is going to be the UL. So I'm going to display. What should this be? Display flex. Boy, why is my computer so slow? Wait, guys, give me a second. Hopefully my stream don't crash because my Wi-Fi just disappear. Please, 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 don't crash, don't crash. Don't crash, don't crash, don't crash. Yes, I think we are okay. If you experience any glitchy like frame, let me know so I can fix it. And we do justify a line item. It's going to be not going to be centers. It's going to be right. We do this, and we do flex hand. What about that? Nope. Centers. What usually is the value of this? Flex hand. I'll say flex hand. The style is none. Okay. So we do justified content. Flex, not flex hand. Going to be yeah, let's say flex hand. Let's see. Yep. And line items going to be centers. A line item is going to be horizontally, and justified content is going to work on that, right? I don't remember like it's been a while that I haven't touched CSS. So pricing, yeah. Let's do this. It's horizontally and line items. And I justify content space between commas. Column gaps. Let's do column gaps. 20 pixel. 1M. Right. And we have to display the nav flex display flex. Why is it like that? Interesting. My stream just broke again. Alexa, open YouTube. Good girl. Right, UL horizontally and put them in line with the React logo. Right, so we have to display inline the nav. Yeah, yeah. What? Display flex. That's good. Then I do justified content. Yeah. Why my image is squeeze? Let's do img width 100%. Covers. Huh? Why is it? Why is it? Image should be image. Okay, let's ignore that. Let's see the solution. Right. I did basically everything that he said.
Some spacing between these nav element, but we unordered list asking about and contact items to the photos of the image. And then I'll go ahead and add a little bit of space between my list items there. I know I mentioned using classes, but in the case of list items, I usually prefer to select the unordered list by its class, and then just select all the list items. That way I don't have to go in and add a class name to every single one of my list items. Let's just give those a padding of maybe 10 pixels. Okay, that's looking pretty good. That could work
as well.
Now, my image is looking a little bit small to me. I want to make it bigger, but oh yeah, we added this width attribute. Now that we know how to style with classes, let's have sort of an impromptu third part of this challenge.
That's why it's not working.
Okay, your task is to change the image styling to happen in the CSS instead of right here in line.
Right.
And of course, for practice, let's add a new class to the image, just so you can style it that way.
Image.
Pause the screencast and work.
Right, we do class equal should be class name because this is ReactJS and it's a little bit different, but it's good. What is img logos? Logo img. Right, now we go into logo imgs. Dot logo img. Imgs is going to be how big should we make it?
Work on this part of the challenge.
Change the image styling to happen in CSS instead of inline. Practice, add new class to the image in order to style it. Well, we can do whatever we want, right? We do image, we do width 100%. All right, and then what do we do? Width. We do width and height is going to be, yeah, let's just say 100 pixel. Why is it not working? Logo IMGs, right? We can call it logo. That would be good. It would be good, guys. Will be good. Life will be good. 100 height, 100 pixel. Boom. Low. Oh, hello, little coders. So we are studying some ReactJS. I have an infection in your throat. Oh, too bad.
Simply enough, we
Do you have a sore throat or what is it?
can take our
You
width
got COVID?
out, which is going to make our image pretty huge. If I refresh, we'll give it a class name. Let's call it nav-logo. And then we will select our nav logo. And let's give it our width of 40 pixels again.
40 pixel.
Hit refresh over here. Okay, we're back where we were. Actually, this logo is looking a little small. Let me try 60 pixels. Yeah, I think I like that size better.
Oh,
At this point, I think it's a perfect opportunity for you to continue practicing styling this page. Obviously, this page is really small in its scope. And so before we just push
you guys
forward,
wanna look at my setup? I just upgraded my setup. Now I can stand up and study. Let me change. Cannot move my cameras. Let's keep it for later. Let's keep it for later. We move back to ReactJS.
I'd like you to spend at least a few minutes styling up this page, making it look a little bit nicer, add your own flair to it. In fact, I actually did that and put maybe 5 minutes of styling into it, which obviously shows it's not going to win any design awards. But I did change the font to use a Google font. I added this little box shadow under our nav bar. I moved the footer down to the actual footer section of our page, to the bottom of our page, and added some really basic styles to it. So this is a great opportunity not only for you to flex your CSS skills and get your hands on the keyboard and do some practice, but also to interact with the Scrimba community, especially on Discord. Once you've styled something up that looks, well, pretty much anything's going to look better than this, once you have some kind of style added, take a screenshot and share it in Discord. As you make changes to your code here in Scrimba, it will create a note that you can save, and you can even share that on Twitter. You can share the link to that in Discord, whatever it takes for you to get involved with the Scrimba community. Once you've had a chance to apply some of your own creativity to this little page, Next thing we're
skip
going to
this.
do is clean up our code here, where right now we have everything kind of stuffed into our index.js file. And we're going to learn how we can move these components into their own folders and clean up our code a bit. There are
Okay, we move on to this.
ways to organize your projects. And so I'm hoping to, in this screencast, just teach you some of the principles. And as we go through the course, you may see different methods that I use. And of course, as you look at other people's code, you'll see the ways that they use as well for organizing their code. Now, what we have here is a very small site for React. There's hardly anything here. I barely have 50 lines of code to make this page. However, anything substantial that you have will end up being hundreds, more likely thousands, or even tens of thousands of lines of code in total. So it's really important to have an order.
Well, ReactJS is just like a how can I say it? You can turn you can break down an HTML file into a function, and then you can plug your function in and make your site look a lot more cleaner. That's how I think about ReactJS for now. Not sure about like what is the actual purpose of this library. I can see it's really it can create a page look, and it can make a page look really clean. Like this part, like there's just 4 lines of code, really simple. It's a combination of all of this 3 function. You break your HTML file into like 3 function, and then you plug into one, like the conclusional function, and then you print that out. And then yeah, it's really clean. It's a smart library. I would say HTML is stupid, CSS is stupid, but this one is like I can see that why people like this so much.
And something that you agree upon in the beginning and stick to as you continue to develop. So I'm going to show you with separating one of these components into its own file, and I'm going to give you a challenge to do the same for the others. So what I'll do is work on the header, and we're going to move header into its own file. So I'm going to create a new file in my Explorer up here called header.js. A convention that I personally like to stick to is that any file I create that will essentially house a React component will start with a capital letter, the same as the component's name itself. Now I'm going
so this is like a component. They call it component instead of like function. But yeah, it's written like a, what is it called? Constructor function in JavaScript. But this one they call it components. So I will stick with components in ReactJS. There's a lot of terms that you really need to remember. Sometimes I just like say this instead of that.
I'm going to copy, or actually cut, this entire component out, and over in header.js I'm going to paste it. Now there's a couple things I need to change here. I want you to pause the screencast and see if you can think of 2 things that I need to change in this file in order for me to then be able to import it into this file so that it's working the way that it was before. So take a good look at this, pause the screencast, see if you can figure that out.
What?
Able to import it into this file so that it's working the way that it was before. So take a good look at this, pause the screen.
I'm assuming you have to do something with this DOM renders, and then the file name header.js. I'm assuming it's like that. I don't know what is the actual way of doing that.
Yes, see if you can figure that out. From React. Well, remember, in order for the program to make any sense of JSX, I always need to import React from React. Even though we're not explicitly using capital R-E-A-C-T anywhere here in my code, for JSX to work, I will need to import React from React. Again, this is something that has recently changed. If you're working in an environment that is actively using the updated React 17, then you may not have to do this. The other thing is currently this component is completely stuck inside of this file. I'm not sending it outside of this file anywhere. And so I need to export it. And oftentimes, if this is the only component that I'll have, I choose to export default component. So I'll say export default header. Alternatively, I could save myself a little bit of lines of code here and just put export default function header right up at the top, and then I don't have to create a separate line down here that does it separately. Personally, I kind of oscillate between these two, so you can just choose whichever one you think you prefer.
Export default function.
Most and stick with that convention.
Keep that in mind.
If you're feeling a little bit rusty on export, import, export default, and so forth, you may want to spend some time researching import and export in ES6, because we will be using it quite a bit in this React course. Now that I have exported my header component, it means that over in my index.js, I can import it, and I'll say import header from, and then I have to use capital H header. And I could say .js, but that's the default extension for imports, so I don't need to specify .js.
Let's see.
In this case, / is a way to indicate that I'm talking about a file in my own project here, not a package that's in my dependencies like React.
Not package, alright.
And I have to make sure that I spell this the exact same as my file name, not necessarily the...
That's basically everything. Basically, code, you have to be specific.
Name of the component. I could have chosen to call this head like that, and I still would have to say import header from /header. The same,
what?
So that I don't run into any confusion as I'm doing an export default. If that's confusing, don't worry too much about a header from /header. Or in this case, I could say import whatever because I'm doing an export default. If that's confusing, don't worry too much about it. I prefer to keep the names all the same so that I don't run into any confusion there.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll put an extra line here. What's nice about this is now my code is sort of sequestered into the header.js file, which means that if I want to change the header, I can logically come to my header.js file to make changes to my header.
Oh.
And I don't need to change how it's rendered down here because when I import it, I'm importing everything.
It's like breaking your web page into small different components so that when you fix something, it's not going to affect the others. Actually smart. Actually smart. Like imagine you have to solve something in your website and you are in e-commerce site and making millions a day, but you have to fix like a navigation tab or something like that. You don't want to close your product page as well, because that is going to screw up your company margin, profit, or whatever, net growth, something like that. That's not good. That's not good. Breaking it out. So that if there's a bug in oh, let's say a footers, and you see it, and you can just go into that and fix it instead of like you have to read the whole page. That's smart. That's smart.
That I have in my header.js file, just like it was when it was declared here in the index.js file. Okay, let's get some practice. Let me talk about your challenge. Simple enough. Just move the footer component and the main content component into their own files, and then of course do what you need to do to make it so that our site doesn't break down. Pause the screencast and work on this challenge.
Guys, we are going to do some of this. I probably won't remember. Call it footers. Footer.js. Move it down. Cannot move it down. Main. Content. Content.js. Function. Paste. Computer. Don't be too laggy, so you're not going to kick my stream out. Right, good. Now we do this. You import. You import some the ReactJS as. Is it from or as? From React. From React. Import. Do we have to import? No, we don't have to do the others. And what is it? Export default. Export default. Tell me if I'm wrong. Tell me if I'm wrong. Probably I'm not. I'm always right. Always right. Alright, that's good. Now we're gonna do the same thing with the main content. Main content. Here. And we do import React from React. Right, we do export default as well. Spell export right, spell default right. Right, now we go into here, delete this, we import the main content and the footers. Import main content first. Make sure you say it right as well. You keep everything the same. That's the easiest way for you to keep track of your code. If you write content here and then, oh, is it content C capital or C lowercase? Oh, that would be a mess. That would be a mess. Right, we do point dash main content. For now, we just say .js so that we're not going to. But the default tail for this file is going to be always going to be .js. So probably you don't need to worry about that. So now we copy this and we do the same thing on this next line. It's going to be our footers. Footers, keep everything the same. Our footers. Right. Now we run the code. Boom, ba, boom, boom, ba, boom. It's good.
And just by importing it, make the cleanup. So
export default. Import React.
And of course
this is like cooking. Not cooking, but like you have the recipe, you have the footers, add some headers, add some content, and then boom, You bake a cake. Woo!
Yet imported it, so we will import it. Content. Save, and we're back up and running. We can remove this challenge, and all of a sudden we're down to 17 lines of code. We're importing
Look
these.
how clean this is. I like this. People also say, oh, how many lines you have, like your code is how many lines is like, oh my code is 1,000 lines. But I like short like this. I like short code. It looks so much cleaner, so easier to understand. You don't have to follow through like an essay to understand what people are saying. Right? This is like boom, boom, bow, bada bing, boom, and there we have it.
Components from other files, and that way we have a much better organization on our app here.
So much better, so much better.
Ways to organize your code. It's also not uncommon for people to even take this component that's sort of organizing our other components and put it in its own file. A lot of times, instead of calling it page, they'll call it app. That's actually the convention I tend to use.
Convention.
I'll go ahead and just change this to app.
Okay.
App. Because of the limited size of this project, I'm not terribly concerned about moving this component into its own file and then also importing all of those other components into that separate file. It just feels like
so we do that as well.
Engineering for such a small project. Okay, awesome work. Hopefully this has been helpful. We're going to be using organization like this throughout the rest of this course.
Love
so
it.
Again, if you're feeling confused about how we're exporting things or importing them, then you may want to spend some time researching export and import in ES6 just to become a little more familiar with it. Or another great way to do that would be to just play with this code. See if you can delete these lines, delete the export default line, and just try to recreate it. See if you can get it to work again. When you feel comfortable with everything we covered so far, let's keep moving forward.
Love this. ReactJS, clean, good, simple, easy to understand. It's not too depends on Google.
Earlier in the course, we saw how we could get a local React app up and running just using that in-browser Babel transpiler. Of course, at the same time, we also saw that it sent us a warning that said, essentially, you really shouldn't do it this way in production. This is okay for now, but eventually you'll want to do something different. So in this lesson, we're going to learn how we can use Vite, which is a tool that we'll use to actually create a local React app. This way, it will be a lot more primed for actually bundling and pushing something to production eventually if you were creating some kind of app that you actually wanted to deploy. As a tool, Vite will take care of the transpilation or the compilation phase, which is what will take our more updated versions of JavaScript that we get to write as developers and translate it into something that is more widely supported amongst all the major browsers out there. And it will also take care of the bundling. I've put here a list of some popular bundlers, and if we were to dive into the details of it, Webpack, Parcel, and Rollup are all bundling systems, whereas ESBuild will use a more updated way to use ES modules and really deploy something in a much quicker way. Under the hood, Vite is going to use ESBuild, which gives Vite such a fast response time when you're just developing locally. If any of you have used Create React App in the past, you'll know that when you run your npm install and npm start after using Create React App to get everything set up, it oftentimes will take somewhere between 30 seconds or even up to maybe 2 minutes or more to get things running. With Vite using ESBuild under the hood, we're going to see it take a matter of seconds instead of minutes, which is an amazing improvement in the developer experience. So that's enough of me blabbing. Let's move forward and see how we can actually do this. You can click this screenshot here, which will take you to the Vite homepage. And it is pronounced Vite, which is French for quick or fast. And in order to see how we can act, we're going to get a developer users, translate it into something that is more widely supported amongst all the major browsers out there. And it will also take care of the bundling. I've put here a list of some popular bundlers, and if we were to dive into the details of it, Webpack, Parcel, and Rollup are all bundling systems, whereas ESBuild will use a more updated way to use ES modules and really deploy something in a much quicker way. Under the hood, Vite is going to use ESBuild, which gives Vite such a fast response time when you're just developing locally. If any of you have used Create React App in the past, you'll know that when you run your npm install and npm start after using Create React App to get everything set up, it oftentimes will take somewhere between 30 seconds or even up to maybe 2 minutes or more to get things running. With Vite using ESBuild under the hood, we're going to see it take a matter of seconds instead of minutes, which is an amazing improvement in the developer experience. So that's enough of me blabbing. Let's move forward and see how we can actually do this. You can click this screenshot here, which will take you to the Vite homepage, and it is pronounced Vite, which is French for quick or fast. And in order to actually use Vite, you will need to make sure that you have Node and npm installed on your machine. You can do this by opening your terminal and typing node -v to...
Right, we are going to do this. What's npm? No ideas. What is Node? I've heard about Node. npm, not too much. Right, we do command prompt, and we do Node. This. Where am I right? Am I right, guys? V. Boom. Pip install. How do we install Node? Install Node. How do we install Node? Da 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 da. Oh, npm download npm. It's a package. npm install. So like that. What the fuck?
To check for a version of Node. If you do have Node, it will spit out some kind of version. It likely won't be this same version that I got when I took the screenshot. And usually if you have Node, you will also automatically have npm, but just in case, you can also run npm -v to make sure that it spits out a version there. If you do not have Node or npm installed, you can follow the instructions.
Toilet break, toilet break, toilet.
That we'll talk about next. If you do, then you can kind of gloss over these next few steps. Now, I'm not actually going to show you how to install Node because there's a million YouTube videos out there that you can use. If you click on this screenshot, it will take you directly to this search, install Node.js with NVM. And that's the important part. I really recommend people install Node.js using NVM, which is short for the Node version manager. I've also set it up here so that you can click on this screenshot if you want to install it on macOS or Linux, and you can click on this screenshot if you want to install it on Windows. They are very similar to each other, although the API is not perfectly the same. Once you've gone through the instructions there to install NVM, you can use NVM to install the latest version of Node and NPM by simply running nvm install --lts. Again, this is specific to Mac and Linux. It is slightly different for Windows. Make sure you follow your system's specific instructions. Then once that completes, you should then be able to run node-v and npm-v and get some versions. Again, it's probably not going to be these exact same versions that it was for me when I recorded this. Okay, with installing Node and npm out of the way, we're ready to use Vite. If you click the screenshot here, it will take you to the Getting Started page on Vite's website. But the important part here is that in your terminal, you will type npm create Vite at latest. Make sure not to include this $, that's just the prompt that's already in your terminal.
Wait, guys, wait. You have to download. What is it called? YouTube NVM. I haven't installed this. Oh no. NVM install. If you do not have NVM for Windows installers, if you already have an older NVM for installer, how do we do this? What the fuck? Wow! Wow. Google recommend Node.js Manager for Windows. Overview Manager installers on Windows computer. Similar, not identical to, but for as an installer now. NVM install. Oh, you should. Let me try that. How do you do this? NVM install. Click this. No, NVM. Oi. You have to pip install it. What's that smell? NVM for Windows. Setup. Which one should I take? Guys, I'm a little bit stuck. I'm stuck. I'm assuming we just download it. Right. My mouse. Is it that? Nope. Download. Download CLI command line. Version. Okay. CLI. Why is it? Oh, yo. Do I have to download this? How to download Node.js with npm. How to download Node.js with npm. Node.js with npm. Download the installers. Node.js. What is npm? Blah blah blah. Okay. What the fuck are they giving me? How to enter? Yes. And then, yes, next. NPM package manager. Okay. Next. Do I check this? Some npm module need to be compiled for when installing. If you want to be able to install such module. Yeah, let's do this as well. And then we do install, right? Install. Oh, yeah. You guys want to see some juggling? I can juggling some balls. Boom, 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 boom. Juggle some balls. We are downloading Node.js. Node.js. Press any key to enter. Continue. Okay, what do we do here? Command prompt. Oi, oi, oi. My computer is lagging. Here, copy this line. Do we have it? Nice. We had it. Let's go, baby. Boom, pa pa pam, 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 pam. Now we go to Vite.
And when you do that, it's going to use Vite to terminal. You can note an npm out of the way. We're ready to use Vite. If you click the screenshot here, it will take you to the Getting Started page on Vite's website. But the important part here is that in your terminal, you will type npm create Vite at latest. Make sure not to include this $. That's just the prompt that's already in your terminal.
All right, we do npm. Boom. Need to install the following. Create Vite. Yes. Boom.
Terminal. And when you do that, it's going to use Vite to ask a couple questions on your project. You can give your project its own name. Then it will have you select a framework. We're going to be using React. Once you select React, you can choose whether you want to
select a framework. React. React. React, and then what? ReactJS?
Just vanilla JavaScript React or React with TypeScript. For our purposes in this course, we'll just be using React without TypeScript. And once it's done, which believe me, it will happen very quickly, it's going to give you some instructions. And so you'll just type in these 3 instructions as 3 separate commands in your terminal. When you do that, you should get something similar to this, where it will install all the associated packages with your React app, and it will get things up and running.
This is some
to run it,
interesting.
You'll write npm run dev, which is that 3rd instruction down there. And what's amazing about this is you can see that it was able to spin everything up in just over 1 second. That's truly incredible. If you've ever used Create React App, it's amazing.
Excited.
Now, if you go to localhost 3000 in a browser, you'll see the default app that spins up automatically. This has the code from Vite that is a bit of boilerplate code. At this point, you're welcome to essentially delete everything or just to work within the system that it gave you. Now, let's say, for example, I wanted to change the default logo from this React logo to be a Scrimba as my app. Actually delete everything. You'll see the default thing up in just over 1 second. That's truly incredible. If you've ever used Create React App, it's amazing. Now, if you go to localhost 3000 in a browser, you'll see the default app.
Localhost 3000. Where is that? Where's localhost 3000? What? Did I miss something?
Has 3 instructions, has 3 separate commands in your terminal. When you do that, you should get something similar to this, where it will install.
Now run this. Speed, pm install, run dev. Boop, 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 boop. It's running, guys. It's running. It's running. I cannot sit for too long for today. My legs hurt. My legs is sore from yesterday. Gym. Run. Complete end. How many seconds? Do some ball juggling. Shoot. Run dev. Right, now we open this. Why is it like this? I don't know. Ooh. Okay.
All the associated packages with your React app, and it will get things up and running. To run it, you'll write npm run dev, which is that 3rd instruction down there. And what's amazing about this is you can see that it was able to spin everything up in just over 1 second. That's truly incredible. If you've ever used Create React App, it's amazing. Now, if you go to localhost 3000 in a browser, you'll see the default app that spins up automatically. This has the code from that is a bit of boilerplate code. At this point, you're welcome to essentially delete everything or just to work within the system that it gave you. Now, let's say, for example, I wanted to change the default logo from this React logo to be a Scrimba logo. All I have to do, or you'll see the default app in just over 1 second. That's truly incredible. If you've ever used Create React App, it's amazing. Now, if you go to localhost 3000.
Why my thingy is not localhost 3000?
In a browser, you'll see the default.
Why mine doesn't look like this, guys? What the fuck?
Default app that spins up automatically. This has the code from that is a bit of boilerplate code. At this point, you're welcome to essentially delete everything or just to work within the system that it gave you. Now, let's say, for example, I wanted to change the default logo from this React logo to be a Scrimba logo. All I have to do is change my logo PNG to something else. I, of course, have to have this inside of my project. The / means that it's in the same folder as my app.jsx file. And just like regular development, I can add things like a new paragraph tag. So now I have the Scrimba logo and a little paragraph that says, "Hello, Scrimba React students." Now, some of you might be looking at this line 3 that says import logo from scrimbalogo.png and wondering what the heck is going on there. In fact, if you look down here on line 12, it says that the source is equal to logo. This might seem a little strange if your only exposure to React has been here inside of Scrimba. However, this is the way that you would end up doing this if you're developing React locally. The reason is because when these files get all bundled and squished together into a single JavaScript file, any path that you may have included is going to be different in the bundled version. By importing our images, we're able to teach the bundler in the final version that we end up bundling for production where to actually find those. And it will readjust those paths according to its needs. that doesn't make sense, honestly, that's perfectly okay. It's just important to know that if you're following along in your local environment with what we're doing in Scrimba, anytime you see me use a relative path alone, maybe directly in my source, you're going to have to take one extra step and import the image from that relative path. The name here, logo, this is not important. You could call it blah, blah, blah if you wanted, as long as you then set your image source to blah, blah, blah. It's just a variable name. So once again, the first thing you would do is to import whatever your image is and give it a name from.
Why my stuff doesn't open? Right. Huh? Edit SRC. What is this? Well, guys, I'm kind of lost.
From your relative path, and then to set your image source to be whatever that name you gave it. Now, let's see this in action just to really reinforce what we're learning here. Let's say I wanted to add an image of a pizza. The first thing I would have to do is to import that pizza logo, which I can call it whatever. I've chosen pizza here, from pizza.png. You can see in my file tree, I actually have that image here, pizza.that path. We're able to together here to have the Scrimba of my project. They'll go to back up. It's a template code. At this point, go to localhost 3000 in a browser. You'll see the default app that spins up automatically. This has the code from
Localhost 3000. Visual Studio Code. Last Friday, no, not that. Where should I go in here? Where do I go? Last Friday, no.
that is a bit of boilerplate code.
Vite/React. I have to find that file. I don't remember where I download that. Well. Well. I think I messed up. Sengo is not that. Oi oi oi. Where is it? Vite. Oh, it's in here. Here is my PC 2019. What is it? On the Vite project. Right. So I found it. Open this. This PC. Wait. App.js, src, app.jsx. There we go. Here it is. How do I run it? What is it called? There's one thingy.
At this point, you're welcome to essentially delete everything or just to work within the system that it gave you. Now, let's say, for example, I wanted to change the default logo from this React logo in the same folder. Something that you may have included is going to be different in the bundled version. By importing our images, we're able to teach the bundler in the final version that we end up bundling for production where to actually find those. And it will readjust those paths according to its needs. If that doesn't make sense, honestly, that's perfectly okay. It's just important to know that if you're following along in your local environment with what we're doing in Scrimba, anytime you see me use a relative path alone, maybe directly in my source, you're going to have to take one extra step and import the image from that relative path. The name here, logo, this is not important. You could call it blah, blah, blah if you wanted, as long as you then set your image source to blah, blah, blah. It's just a variable name. So once again, the first thing you would do is to import whatever your image is and give it a name from your relative path, and then to set your image source to be whatever that name you gave it. Now let's see this in action just to really reinforce what we're learning here. Let's say I wanted to add an image of a pizza. The first thing I would have to do is to import that pizza logo, which I can call it whatever, I've chosen pizza here, from pizza.png. You can see in my file tree I actually have that image here, pizza.png. And then down in the image, I simply set the source equal to my curly brackets with the variable name that I chose when I was importing it. And it's as simple as that. I've added some styling here to make sure it wasn't an overly large image, but that's a completely separate story.
Wow.
Well, actually,
I haven't had pizza for a while. Should I get pizza today? Pizza is good. What's your favorite? What's your guys' favorite pizza?
Referring to that, I did that styling by adding an inline style tag here just for simplicity.
I miss
while
pizza,
we're at it,
guys.
let's talk about
Pizza.
importing styles as well. You may have noticed this line down below that just says import./app.css, and that might look a little bit strange. But the concept is essentially the same. Under the hood, this is teaching the bundler how to find the correct CSS file. When I import the CSS file name, and you'll notice I don't even have to give it a variable name like I did with my images, it will teach the bundler how to find that CSS file and make sure that it is applied to any JavaScript in the React tree below this point. I'm not at this time going to dive deep into how to do modularized styles and everything like that. For now, it's important to know that if I do have a CSS file that I want to associate with my React app, I will at some point need to import it, just like you see here.
That's my cigar.
Okay, I know we covered a lot, but now you should be all set. I hope that you've had a chance to follow along with this, and if not, I'd recommend going back and rewatching this, seeing how you can spin up a local React app using Vite, because doing so is just going to make you that much more experienced in what the real workflow is going to look like. Now, I still recommend that you do all of the little mini challenges and everything that we give you directly here in the Scrimba environment. And that's because I'm going to have things set up perfectly for you. I really want you to be focusing on learning the syntax of React and not necessarily worrying about all of the tooling that's required behind the scenes to get it to work locally. That said, I do want you to practice with it. You could decide to do your solo projects maybe as a local React app that you set up with Vite, and then do all of the other challenges that I give you directly here in the Scrimba environment. I'm going to leave that up to you, to whatever makes the most sense for your own learning. Okay, that was a really big but still pretty important aside. Let's jump right back into learning more React.
Can you run React like locally with Visual Studio Code? Should be a file, right? There should be a file.
One thing that I really like to do when I'm starting a new project, especially if I have the design right in front of me like we do here is to make a sort of mental outline of the elements on the page and how I'm going to lay this project out. All that really helps me do is to make a sort of mental model of how I'm going to create everything on the page. This can be especially helpful when you're thinking about layout and how you're going to place certain elements in the right spot on the page, especially when you start thinking in terms of using Flexbox or Grid to do that kind of layout. So as a first sort of mini challenge, what I want you to do is pause the screencast and look at this page, try to determine what kind of elements you would use, what kinds of CSS layouts you might use. Fortunately, this project has a fairly simple layout, but I still think that it's something that will be helpful for you to practice. So pause the screencast and try to imagine what elements you would use and how you would lay them out for this project.
Right, let's break it down, right? Let's break it down. We have, first of all, we have the nav, which is like the headers. We have the logo. You have the React facts, which is like including in the logo as well. I'm assuming, looking at this, is included into the logo. So there's one image, and then we display flex it. We put it in one div, display flex. Inside that inside that div is going to be another element called React course. Is going to be a P or like a H2 or H3. Then you go and you code the next part is going to the body, and then headers, list, no, body, and then H1, basically header 1. Or fun fact about React was designed and released in blah blah blah, and then UL, LI, this 5 LI. Next to it is the image. Now this is, I'm assuming this React logo is an image that they put, that they have that specific colors. Right, so we do that by, the list and the image, the list and the, should it include H1 as well? No, it wouldn't. It would not. No, it would be two div. Would be one div, but including one div is going to be include the paragraph, and one div is going to be include the image. No, one div. One part is going to, one child is going to be including the paragraph and the list. The other child is going to be including the image, which is, and then we can display flex them. So that is going to be display in line, in row, row or columns, row, right? So let's keep going.
Which is sort of the main content. Already due to project 1, start putting together what the actual, and then we have our main two sections, that nav bar, which we saw at the top, and the main section. Inside the nav bar, we had a couple elements like the image, and then maybe let's call the React facts text and H3, and this React course. A really helpful exercise because I can start to see that I will probably have two main components. First, a custom nav component, which will house my nav element with its children elements. And second, a main custom component, which will house my H1 and my unordered list with the list items. In terms of those nested items, like the image and H3, those are going to be simple enough that they won't need their own custom React component. And then I would take my custom nav component and my custom main component and probably collect them together in one more custom component, which I usually end up calling app. And that will be what renders my div with the class of container. And then that app component, since it contains all the elements on my project, will then be rendered with React DOM.render. So I hope this has been a helpful exercise for you, at least to see the way that I usually like to break down my projects. If it's a layout that's fairly basic like this, I usually will just kind of think about it ahead of time without actually writing it down or putting a bunch of dotted squares around the elements or anything like that. But once you've practiced this enough times, a simple layout like this might take you a total of maybe 10 seconds to think through, but in the end could end up saving you a lot of time. So now it's time for us to get your hands on the keyboard. We're going to have a series of challenges
Hands on the
which
keyboard.
will help you be the one that actually builds out this project.
Project setup. Right, guys, we are going to keep this for tomorrow. Not tomorrow. This afternoon. Wait, this afternoon I'll be doing something else. I would not studying. That I need to do a few works. All right. So see you guys tonight. I have to do something in the afternoon today. Yeah, probably tonight. But let's see. Let's see what we can study today. I'm really looking forward for the Airbnb and like this app, Note app. Oh my god, meme generators. I'm not that type of person like who likes meme a lot that much, but it could be fun. Could be fun. Right. 2 hours. What if we can finish this? Can we finish it? 5, 10, 15. 5, 10, 15 is going to be 17, 19, 3. Yeah, I don't think we can finish it in time because I'm going to grab lunch at around 11:30.